Hey guys, I'm going to be talking to you today about my top 5 OBS tips for beginners or maybe not so beginners. Some of these I personally learned myself just a couple months ago. OBS is a ton of fun to use. It's a great tool for recording on YouTube, for creating content on a live streaming platform, but there's a lot of flipping features in it. So we're going to unpack my top 5 tips for beginners or maybe not so beginners. Stay tuned.
I'm the CEO, it's Mega Chop, you already know.
As we hop in to my top 5 beginner, maybe not so beginner tips, I want to let you guys know that if there's anything you come across in this video that you're like, wait, what? Or there's more questions that you have about OBS or streaming or content production, please feel free to come and chat with me live. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evenings at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, I'm live on Twitch at twitch.tv/megachopceo. I would definitely love to chat with you about them. I'm very excited to share with you my top tip, and I'm going to do this one right off the bat around camera autofocus. The camera autofocus can be nice if you're a streamer or recorder who doesn't move around a whole lot, but if you move around a lot like myself, especially when you get hyped, it gets frustrating because as soon as you're getting hyped up and you're getting pumped because something awesome happened in your stream, now the video focused in on your hand and your face is out of focus. And sometimes the camera gets stuck that way just depending on circumstances. And people try and put their hand completely over the camera to fix it, and it becomes awkward and a nuisance for everyone. Now, the one caveat that I found with this, at least with the Logitech C920, is this is a process that I unfortunately need to do every single time I open up OBS. And I've used Logitech software and I've tried all different settings. I've looked at all these walkthroughs online of people who say that they've permanently fixed it. I've never seen anything that's really successfully permanently fixed it. So if you found out a way to do that, please hit me up in the comments below and let me know. I would love to learn from you guys. But until then, this is going to be how you can at least turn off your autofocus. And you can do this at any time. If you forget, like I do almost every stream, you can still turn it off while you're live streaming. Let's take you through the steps. Don't mind the streamception here as I'm going through the process to show you. But here, as I said, I've got the Logitech C920. To turn off autofocus, you're going to right-click your camera input, whichever it is, and left-click Properties, then left-click Configure Video, left-click Camera Control, and make sure that this checkbox right next to Focus is unchecked. Then you're going to click Apply and OK, and then OK again. And now autofocus is turned off. Make sure that it is focused in on you before you turn it off. Otherwise, as soon as you unclick autofocus, it stops autofocusing and you're going to be out of focus. It's real easy to fix that if you do that. I've done it myself maybe more than once. And you just open up that same menu. You click the checkbox to fill it in to turn autofocus back on. Give it some time, maybe put your hand in front of the camera for a few seconds and then let it autofocus. Then turn it right back off. Uncheck that box and click Apply, and you're all set. The second tip that I have for you is around transitions. This is, again, something that I learned recently, as unfortunate and as embarrassing as it is, but whatever. So as far as transitions go, I'm going to try and help you learn this much sooner than I did. You don't have to have a separate scene in source for your transitions like I did. Thankfully, I had a Stream Deck where all I had to do was click transition in between each scene that I wanted to go to, but it was extra work, of course, extra monitoring in between things. And the other way that I tried was adding it into every source, which became a headache. It didn't always trigger right. It was a pain. So the easiest way to go about it is how we're going to do it today. So we're going to work right down here in the scene transitions area. You're going to click Add and click Stinger. Stinger's a fancy term in media for this little scene that's in between. We're going to call it a transition. How about that? Everybody knows what a transition is. We're going to click OK. And if you don't, I apologize. You do now. So now everybody does. Click Browse, and you're going to go wherever your transition is located. Here's my custom transition. I'm going to double click it. That's going to add the name in this line here for the video file. There's no other options that I change for this. You can change crossfade, fade in, fade out, monitor. If you have audio to it, you can monitor. There are other options that you can do. You can have a transition point in time. Real basic. That's what I would suggest to start. Click OK, and we now have our transition. So this is what it looks like when I transition scenes with that transition in place. Boom. All right. So now every time you switch back and forth from one scene to another, it's going to play that transition regardless of the scenes that you're switching between. Now we're going to go back. Hello. Okay. Now we're on to step 3. And this is around adding audio. Really specifically your microphone is what I'm talking about, but this can be to add your desktop audio as well. These are things that you can add individually to different sources if you choose. That way you don't have it in all sources. There's actually a much simpler way to add it in though, and that is deeper in the OBS settings, and that will hold true for all scenes. And if you don't want that audio source live in all scenes, we can look at how you mute that as well. So we're going to go down here and we're going to click Settings. Then we're going to go to Audio. And I have a couple mics in here. You only need one. I use the Go XLR Mini. And so Broadcast Stream Mix is what I have. I've also got a Razer Kraken Ultimate that I could select. So basically you should, if you have a USB mic or if you have an XLR mic that you have connected to your computer, you should see that option in here, and that's the one that you're going to want to select for your mic/auxiliary audio option. And that's going to make this available through all scenes. Now that Go XLR functions all of my audio. I don't need to add in any desktop audio because it all filters through there for me. But if you did want to add your desktop audio, you could click into the desktop audio, and then I could go to my NVIDIA. You could go to your sound card, your speakers, wherever that is that you have your audio filtering through if you need to add that in. Once you've selected what you want as your mic or your desktop audio sources, you click Apply, and then you click OK, and you're all set. And you see down here, this is my mic that's set up to go through. This also picks up desktop audio for me and filters it through. So if I would transition scenes, this is the only one that I have set up that I can show you my OBS, but if I were to change, you would see this same bar in every scene. And if I wanted to mute this, that's what it would look like. If I kept talking, you wouldn't hear me, so I stopped for a second. You just click the little speaker, it turns red. If you want to turn that audio back on, click on it again and it turns white. Now for my fourth point, we're going to look at resizing Windows and some quick keys to give you a lot of functionality on a very basic feature. So here I've got my camera and I've got my C920 locked, because otherwise if it was unlocked and I was clicking around in these screens and I clicked on it, then you guys would see this funky box around it the whole time. And I could move it, I could minimize it, I could do different things that would impact it. So when you lock it, you can't click on it anymore, you can't mess anything up. That's a bonus tip, just letting you know how that works. But here, I'm going to bring this down and show you additional functionality. So you're going to see the bottom bar is red and the top and the sidebars are green. That's because I've minimized this because there's extra things behind me, as you've seen earlier in my recording, that I don't want on my camera. My wife functions in here through work, so her chair's in here. We've got power outlets that show up. So to change this and expand it, I'm going to hold Alt, and that will allow me to drag it all the way out until it gets to the red. The red is actually the maximum size of the frame. Now, when you hold Alt, you want to click on the red squares, and you can do any of the red squares, and you can minimize and change this however you need for your purposes. Say you don't want to cut out anything, you just want to make this smaller or larger, then you just click on the squares and you can make it smaller or you can make it larger. We could make it fit the window. We could make it go beyond the window. So there you're going to see that it starts to get into some of that, the gray dashes, and you can do a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and hold Alt again and bring this back in to where I had it edited originally. That way you guys can see how we clean that camera up a little bit. That way if you've got anything in the background that you don't want in camera shot for whatever reason, you can most certainly make these edits and adjustments yourself and make it a lot cleaner in the end for your audience. And my fifth tip for this video is adding scenes into OBS. You may have come across a point that you got stuck on where you added a scene and now suddenly you couldn't see it. It just disappeared behind everything that was there. Well, OBS functions kind of like a palette. So if you picture yourself with an art palette laying in front of you, and the first picture that you paint is the base. Then you decide, I want to add something onto that, maybe my logo. Then you paint that on. That covers what was already there, right? So we stacked that on top. That's really a similar theory to how OBS works, and you can continue stacking as much as you need. So if you see down here, we've stacked all of these items, and some of them we have been using today, some of them we haven't. But if we change the order of the stacks, it's going to impact how this functions. So if I take the camera and I stack this below my display capture, which is how you guys are seeing all of my OBS right now, I disappear. And now all you see is my OBS because we've now stacked a bigger view over OBS, right? So now if I drag my camera back up above, we're now stacking my camera on top of display capture 2, which brings me back to be back with you guys. So this is the basic functions of OBS when you're trying to add scenes to it, and that's something to keep in mind. If you add a new scene, you add your capture card, and suddenly all the other work that you did disappeared, it's hidden underneath the gameplay that you have. So you just need to click that and drag it down to wherever you need it to be in the order of the icons. I hope these tips helped you. If even one of the tips helped you, that's amazing. That's the journey of learning, streaming, and producing your own content through these platforms, is all the functionality in them, and they're rather complicated. If you guys have any questions about using OBS and you want to talk to me live, please reach out. I'm available Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evenings on Twitch at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. You can find me at twitch.tv/megachopceo, and I would love to talk to you guys about any questions that you have about OBS, streaming, or content creation. And while you're here, make sure you click like, subscribe, smash that bell for notifications, and feel free to drop a comment and let me know what you thought or other things that you need to still learn, and I'll be happy to cover them.